everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy. I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Tchaikovsky from My Holistic Self. And we have a wonderful guest today. We have Michelle Desrochers. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And we have some guests in the audience already. We have Wayne Mallows. So welcome, Wayne. Thank you for joining us. We have Kaylee for our chat today, and we have a few others that haven't said hello. So hello to all of you as well, and those that are watching at another time. So let's get into our little weather forecast because we want to get that over with so we have time to chat with Michelle. Actually, Jen, would you mind going first, please, with your transits?
Sure, I can definitely go first. So this week I want to do the transits a little bit differently. So normally I just, tell you about each of the energies, but the energy that we're in poses a story. It's all about the story that we're living in. So I'm sure you guys have noticed how two people can experience exactly the same event and then walk away telling completely different stories. So one person leaves a conversation thinking, oh, I think I said something wrong. And another person goes away thinking, oh, that was so interesting, right? So when we look at this, it's the same event, but it's a different story. And over time, the stories become the lens through which we experience our lives. So they become our beliefs, our expectations, and sadly, sometimes our identities. And so what's really interesting about the energy right now is that we today entered into the gate 56. The gate 56 is the gate of the wanderer. It's stimulation, but it's the gate of the storyteller. In the Gene Keys, this energy moves us from distraction to the shadow of distraction to the sit here, the enlightened state of intoxication through the gift of enrichment. And often when we hear about distraction, we think maybe about like scrolling or our busy schedules and things like that. But because this has to do with the storyteller, I think that it's going to take us somewhere a little bit deeper. Distraction is, for me, what happens when we become so immersed in the story that we have been telling ourselves that we stop questioning whether it's actually true. And these are the stories, and, we talk about them on the show so often. I'm nothing ever works out for me. I'm not good enough. People leave. I'm too much. Not enough. All those bits and pieces that we've experienced that end up being stories. And if we look at it from that perspective, we stopped recognizing that we're observing a story and we really started to live inside of it. And when those stories repeat and repeat, they basically become the architecture of our lives. So what's really interesting here is that because the distraction moves into enrichment, when we step into the gift of this, we recognize that enrichment doesn't erase the difficult experience. What it does is it changes the meaning. It can change the story. And so the interpretation of it, that enrichment, it's taking it deeper. It's helping us to see it from a new perspective. So instead of I failed, it's wow, that experience taught me what I needed to learn, right? As opposed to everything falls apart. It's like, okay, this is interesting. The unnecessary things in my life fall away. And we're able to make those shifts if we're open to stepping into the enrichment, right? In those moments, the story becomes something completely different. Now, there's so many energies that are happening while we're in this gate 56, this whole idea of the stories that we tell ourselves. So from July 19th to the 22nd, we're in this planetary cradle. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I talked about it in the week's energy update, but I love the symbolism of it because here we are looking at how am I telling my story? And this is all about transformation and the ability to tell our story differently. And what happens is that in this cradle, we're being held and supported and allowed to have the space to notice what needs to shift, what's ready to shift, what is ready to either fall away or emerge, right? So we know every time there's an ending, there's a new beginning. And this is really cool because it also falls at the Mayan New Year. So the 24th is the end of the Mayan cycle. The 25th is the day out of time, which means that it's not part of the old cycle and it's not part of the new cycle. And it's on that day that we switch into the gate 31. And the gate 31 is the gate of influence. It's about how we lead. And it's like how we lead others and how we lead ourselves. So this is going to happen, like I said, on the 26th. I believe that's the Saturday. It's the weekend. I have to look at the calendar to know exactly when that is. But what's really interesting is the shadow here is the shadow of arrogance into the gift of leadership and the siddhi of humility. And the progression is super cool. And this is what I wanted to talk about, because again, it's that story, right? So first we're invited to examine the story, and then we're invited to become the person who lives a different story. So when we look at leadership, it's not about like followers or being, loud or smart or trying to convince anything. It's about the self-leadership that we have. And so the shadow of the 31 is all about control. I want to control the story. But then the gift is like, okay, I'm going to become responsible for my story. And in the siddhi, we step into the energy of, I don't need the story to be about me or about anything. It's just about life. And then that opens us to a beautiful ability to transform. I love this quote, right? I have it on my wall. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. It's that exact energy of I don't have to change the things around me. I can just allow myself to become who I want to be in spite of all of that. So this is the energy that we're moving through, with a beautiful invitation to really acknowledge, what is the story I'm telling myself? Does that story serve me? Is it something that I want to keep telling myself, or am I ready to change it? And so the affirmation for this one, I made a little bit longer because I wanted to cover kind of all of the energies of this week. And I'll put it in the chat for you. But the affirmation is, I release the stories that no longer serve me. I honor every experience that has shaped my path. In the space between endings and beginnings, I remember who I truly am. And with humility, wisdom, and an open heart, I step forward to live the next chapter with intention, authenticity, and trust.
Beautiful. Sounds like a good time to say lead with love and let love lead you. So let's step into that over the weekend. That'll be fun. So it's in 2 parts. So you'll have to read under 2 parts, you guys. All right. That was beautiful, Jen. Thank you.
So what's going on with the Schumann?
So the solar flares aren't too bad. We did have 2 M class today, which was felt if you were sensitive. This one more because it's a little higher. Our KP index has been fairly quiet, but the Schumann is up at 58 today. So, we've got definitely some energy coming in. We've got these little spikes here, which we're going to feel in our bodies and all of that. So, we've also got some downloads coming from the galactics as well in the last little bit. And so even though those aren't showing on our scientific stuff, we still have a lot of other stuff happening. And that cradle that Jen was talking about is pretty intense as well in terms of the neutrinos coming in. So we're definitely dealing with some beautiful energies that are transformational coming in. So the watery Cancer new moon is missing. Yes. Destined to do that. Welcome, Hypnocity.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And I know there was a whole bunch of stuff going on as I was chatting, but I just
Let's say hello to a few people, and then we'll hear all about Michelle. So we have Taurus Girl Reads. Welcome. We have Cody. Welcome, Cody. Thanks for joining us. We have Leah. There's our Hypnocity, which is Nalani. She's saying hello. And I think, we've got this one too. Jojo MC. Hello, welcome.
Good.
And we have Sab the Seeker.
Hi, Sab.
So, welcome. So we have Michelle Desrochers. Now, Michelle, you have an exciting story. So would you mind sharing that with us, please?
Ooh, I don't mind. My story is definitely one that's interesting and is all over the place. But technically, I have spent the last 2 decades doing film and media, various media within the field of, I say my roots being the paranormal, which has evolved into something more along the lines, I guess, of high strangeness, getting into ufology, getting into alternative history, forbidden knowledge. If it's out there and it's got a question mark, I essentially just want to hit it and just go for broke and get as much information as I can. And I've come to realize that everything is very connective and energy frequency based. I currently consult, for media, for the creation of, television documentaries, TV series, even things, podcasts. I manage United Public Radio Network, of course, as Jen knows, in New Orleans. I have 2 shows, being the Outer Realm Radio, along with Beyond the Outer Realm. Accomplished world traveler, which has allowed me to indulge my research, I guess. And yeah, but all of that started just because of experiencing different levels of high strangeness, being intuitive, being an extraterrestrial experiencer, as well as experiencing different levels of, of hauntings and things like that. So here I am.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
I'm sure you have a ton of stories. What's your favorite?
My favorite story?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I think it varies because growing up around things that was happening in the house, and coming to learn that I was also an ET experiencer was interesting for me, because there's such a fine line between the paranormal activity that was happening along the lines of what was happening with being an experiencer, contactee, that as an adult, I kind of went, what was I really experiencing? Because they mirror one another. And it was interesting. I think there was a combination of both, but I've had numerous experiences. So do you want an ET story or do you want a paranormal story?
Both of us have had both, so we're good with whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Right. Before you dive into it, though, I think what you're sharing is so important, especially for those who are watching, because it's same in the terms of, like, as a child, we don't know necessarily what it is we're experiencing. We just know that there are experiences there, and they might make us feel a certain kind of way, right? Some might feel great, some might feel very uneasy, but to be able to kind of look back on it, we can begin to recognize that, what we may have thought was maybe a paranormal experience may have been an extraterrestrial experience, and vice versa. And so it's really interesting, to look at the energies and how we perceive the energies in order to know what feels aligned or correct for us.
Oh, absolutely.
To your point about not really knowing exactly what you were seeing too, is I found with my young experiences, I had blocked some of them. So I had an experience when I was quite young with ETs. I didn't remember it until my cousin started talking about it, because we had it together. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I always take somebody else, who's carrying the memory. Yeah.
Good thing she was, because we would have forgotten all about it.
So I just finally asked my mother as an adult. I said, okay, because we knew things that were going on in the home, and it was very tumultuous with respects to energy. But then again, I'm a child, right? And I have high energy. I could see, right? Never had a problem with spirits. It didn't frighten me. Really, not a whole lot frightened me. I was always kind of weird that way. Things still really don't frighten me. Doesn't really matter what it is. Not that I don't startle, but it's just like, it's that intuitive yet inquisitive mind that kicks in right away. I'm like, what are you? Oh, maybe I should ask if you're dangerous, first before I ask what you are. Like it's really stuff like that. But as I became an adult and started getting more involved and realizing I'm still an experiencer, and I have so many guests who come on, and a lot of that got triggered by the people that I have sat and had conversations with. I'm going, oh, yeah, I think that's actually happened to me. And then just basically making that decision. It's like people are talking about CE5. I'm like, CE5, all I gotta do is think about it and they're there. I just think it's really easy. Why go through all that trouble? Just eliminate the middleman. And it was like that. And things just started happening again. And then things started feeling familiar. So I had talked to my mother before she passed, and I said, what, because I remember weird things. Like I've seen crafts come in and land, and, military are just swarming in the area the next day. And, and she goes, you're always just a strange child. Thank you. I needed to hear that now, but thank you. She goes, no, you would spend hours just staring at the night sky, and aging myself a little bit. Like there weren't satellites then. I think the US government had one satellite back then. And, so when something zipped across the night sky, something really zipped across the night sky. Yeah. And she said, your grandfather used to have a telescope and always watch the stars. And on both sides of my family, interestingly enough, they had, experiences seeing UFOs. They were definitely ET experiencers. This is something that was ongoing, generational from both sides for me. And the story got very, very in depth with some of the stuff that had happened, even to my mother. So I thought, okay, you know what? This is a thing that's, I'm now starting to realize was happening from that very young age. And things that I was experiencing, some of them were pretty volatile. You've got something coming up, showing up while you're in bed and you're looking right at it, and it's got these big red eyes and horns. It's like, all right. But again, it's a matter of projection, because as you hit puberty, you start projecting energy as well. And apparently I'd mastered the art of psychokinesis quite well. So, it was just a matter of watching history repeat itself when I had my own children. And I had a daughter who completely could outdo me in the psychokinesis department, and trying to make her realize that, look, this is something that you're projecting. So there were a lot of things to factor in, and a lot of things that I needed to separate with my own energy. And things like sleep paralysis, which is common in both the paranormal, logically as well, but the paranormal and, being an experiencer, that didn't hit me until I was like probably in my 40s, which is very, very, odd. And it happened within literally a few weeks or maybe a couple of months apart. So that was, around the time where, things were coming in, also crafts, because, I had a big 2-story house and the thing was just shaking at 2 a.m, and I could hear this going, oh boy, here we go. So you start kind of putting 2 and 2 together, because that was prior to my, my time in more of a heavier research. When I started doing the shows, I retired from film and started deciding I would stay and do, the podcasts. It was then that I started researching more, and I started connecting a lot of the dots and realizing, it's all connected, all of it. Yeah. And here we are talking about energy, frequency, vibrations. It's all of that and more.
Absolutely.
It's incredible when you really look at how it is all connected. And I see that, Cody had said, okay, let's talk paranormal.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
again,
I can give you some.
We recognize that, these experiences, it's so funny. You were talking about like not being afraid and all of that. As a kid, I think early on it was fascinating, but then it got to a point, I think, especially with culture and society and family and all of that, saying things are weird or not okay, or, watching my first scary movie or whatever it is, and then suddenly being very afraid. of those things. And so it's neat how we also look at the way that we each navigated that energy, right? Whether it was to completely not remember it, to think it was scary, to be all in curious, and all of the different ways that, we shared. And I love that everybody's kind of sharing.
I think it's the innocence of a child as well. You don't know maybe necessarily that you should fear an extraterrestrial. Right? And I think conditioning, perhaps, movies, or if your parents fear it, then that's going to be instilled onto us as children, right? Or if you become a parent yourself and you have that fear, right? Because I mean, that's generational, and it has carried into to the point where I had to tap in and say, okay, I'm one thing, that's another thing. So again, another convoluted story, but there was a great deal of respect after certain, let's say, decisions were made, and this respect from the other side as well, saying, yeah, okay, that's fine. We're just going to back off from that until everybody became of age to decide if they wanted it for themselves or not.
Yeah, for me, my experiences when I was very young, like around 4, were not very pleasant. And so I blocked it all off. I've since had the memories come back, but for me, it was not very pleasant. And it was a not pleasant being. So it was, yeah. Lived in an old farmhouse kind of thing in the country. And so that was, so I obviously made a choice at that age to block stuff out subconsciously. And so when I started seeing them as I was older, it was like, what is this? Because it started after I started Reiki. Started my Reiki stuff, right? Because start opening up to stuff, and all of a sudden it was like, what is that in my corner?
That's a thing. Yeah. It's a tough one. I think you have to, like paranormal experiences, entirely different. I've had things come in not pleasant, because when I chose to get into the field and help other people, I had to apply different things for myself from a young age, because not like we had the internet, to be able to clear myself. And a lot of that was just through mindset, reframing, taking your power back, and over time things would lessen. And it's stuff that I've educated people that I've worked with in a couple of decades. I still do, to a degree. I'm not as involved anymore just for scheduling reasons, but it's just like you are the one in control. You really are. And it's all a matter of how you handle it, like raise that vibration, get that frequency going. I always say live, love, laugh, dance, watch a funny movie, open the windows, hug a tree. All of it. It's just bring it all in that energy field, and you watch the magic happen, and it really does unfold that way. And I've got, lists like as long as both my arms of people who have applied these techniques and realized that, no, it's not just going to wave that smudge stick. You have to have in a belief behind it that's going to empower you. You have to put power behind the words that you use. There has to be strong intention. It all starts with you. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're saying. Say what you mean what you say, follow through, just do it, and you come out on top. But, trying to teach people that sometimes it's hard when you're in the moment. I've had I only deal with aggressive hauntings or attachments. It's because I knew I helped myself out of that, and I just had no issue doing it. I didn't have the same level of fear. I've had a lot of my peers say to me, can you take this? And I'd be, yeah, no problem, because I didn't, it didn't bother me. Is like, not that they didn't try, and they still found ways to infiltrate, but I'll give you one example. I was getting ready to go to a location, and the guy that was there was a bit of a knocker, and then he'd growl. So I'm getting ready, and I hear a knocking, on the table beside me, and I tapped in like, okay, there you are. They always know before you do, what's going on, and they'll try to deter you from coming in. And all I did is I just walked out of my ensuite, picked up my purse and said, "I'll see you in an hour, mister." Grabbed my purse and kept going. I just wouldn't give it to it. And it's just something over time, where I've been called every name in the book at some of these locations. And I'm like, I know, but let's just get past that. And, here we are. And my grandfather taught me that from a young age. He goes, you could fear it inside, you'll be startled like anybody else. He said, but you're the one in control. And if you give up your power, you will lose it very easily. So I never gave it up. And I always did it in a funny way. And it got me, it got me through it. And, I had something show up in the house one night. I woke up out of a dead sleep, and I went downstairs, pitch black in the house. And we had this big dark leather chair. And I could see that turned blacker than black, and something was sitting in there. And I sat down, and I heard a big, like a growly sort of like that, right? And I went, So I got back up, and I went back upstairs, and I said, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And I went back to bed, and I could hear this loud, almost like a popping, like a poof. It was just, I'm sure it felt to me like it resonated through the whole house, but that was its exit point. It's not that I didn't go to bed saying, shoot, I hope it's really gone. We all think it in the back of your mind, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. There's so many great comments. I want to show, like, Wayne, you crack me up. Knock 3 times on the headboard when I'm sleeping. No, it's never fun.
It's not fun, no.
And Cody was saying, I need to check out your stuff, right? I seem to attract energies like that. And I think it's really, we were talking beforehand about empowering people to be able to handle this for themselves. Yeah. And so it's beautiful when you have the opportunity to even do shows like this, and we can talk about it and share things that work for us so that you can be empowered. And I just want to go back really quick to what you were saying about the tools, because I've had that happen so often where people will come and be like, what do I do? And it's like, okay, we can give you tools. And they're like, well, I've been doing this and that and all of that. It really does come down to the intention. You can walk into a space and just go, no. And that can be sufficient with that intention of like, you are not allowed in this space. But, if you're going to use the smudging, the incense, and the different tools, the tools are great, but they're only a representation of the intention that you are bringing.
Yes, thank you. Right. Yeah. Same applies with the intention of communication, how you got in that position for some people in the first place. Everybody will say, Ouija boards. I take it a step further. Okay. You can use your phone. You have phone apps. You can use a voice recorder. You can use a pendulum. You can use other types of communication boards. I'm sorry, but this is a fact. Whatever you're using to initiate conversation, you're making an invitation. And that in there, you always have something that is willing to accept the invite. So be prepared for that, because sometimes, and this is just because of the fact that, I have researched many, lost count eons ago of how many places I have investigated, or families that I have worked with, or film projects that I have done and consulted on. And even when I consult on a paranormal show today, it's like I put these guidelines in place. People will ask me to contribute to books that they're writing. And I'm just like, they're like, okay, well, here's some questions. And when I answer them, it's not what they expect. I'm just like, no, because it's my job. I'm doing a disservice to people that have entrusted themselves to me to come in and only do half the job. Yeah. I don't go in there and start communicating with things. I'm versed enough to know. I walk in, or I'm just kind of like, okay. And I can tell by what people tell me, especially collectively, that I go in there with one intention. And it's not. I don't care what it has to say. People are like, well, you should be investigating. I don't need to investigate it. This wants to draw me away from the family. So what am I going to do? Put my attention 100% to the family and let them talk as they need to. and the whole house could be coming down around me. By the time I leave here, it's coming with me, I promise you. So, you know what I mean? It's perspective, like you say, on different levels. People have different techniques. Mine is just a bit different. I don't say to people, oh, you're lucky I'm here. I say to people, thank you for entrusting yourself and your family to me. Let me take the weight a while. There's a difference in that approach, even, that can make a huge difference in the process of trying to help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Heidi's saying, I'm not acknowledging anymore.
Good girl.
And
Yeah.
the chat is well said. Invitations are critical. Thank you.
I just,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know.
And often people don't know what they don't know. You know, I remember being a teenager, right? And you work with a Ouija board because you think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then we ended up with something in the house for years after. So,
yeah. You open the door. That's all that they want, really. Because it's, you know, it's kind of like now, even when you look into a lot of these occult or esoteric things that you see on television, opening ceremonies, I'll leave it there. They need a permission and an acknowledgement for it to mean anything. So you have the masses going, yeah, woo, yeah, I'm sorry, that's an acknowledgement, and yeah, that's a thumbs up. In many cases, I think it's a lot of times it's people who can read between the lines and look at what's happening in the background to realize that it's not such a good idea. It's the same thing in your private life. You know, you have to realize that if you're giving it acknowledgement, you know, like I have people who message me and like, this is all the stuff that's going on in my house. And they're sending me photos and audio recordings. And I'm like, you know, I had someone from overseas do this in the last few days. And I'm going, why are you acknowledging it? Why are you giving it attention? It's not helping you.
Absolutely.
Right. Mm.
Absolutely. It's interesting too, going through the comments. I'm sorry, I'm not putting them all up. There's just so many. Maybe I'll just start putting them up so you guys can see them. But, you know, Crystal Signature said, you know, this resonates with their lineage, and it's great to find that, you know, community. And thanks for sharing, because it's true. You know, we all might look at it a little bit differently. We may all do it a little bit differently, but the reality is, you know, what resonates for us ultimately, if we get to the bottom line of it, is generally the same. Right? So to Sab's comment, right, I don't particularly believe in Christianity, etc., but I feel that Jesus's teachings were real, just to be a decent human. Basically, it's that kind of like underlying teaching, regardless of whether or not you know, resonate with a particular tradition. But, you know, all of these different religions and teachings talk about, if you open that door, if your intention is to try to do something, you're going to have some kind of energy come in that is resonant with that intention.
100%.
Get rid of it, you know?
like energy you're putting out is going to come in, right?
100%. And I think this is something else with people, because you mentioned, you know, religion has come up. When I go in to help someone, it's one of the things that I ask, what is your, you know, your place of faith? What is your background with faith? Because I can't go in, let's say, with a Christian family and try to give a Buddhist outlook, you know, like it's something that I've had to study quite a bit. And I've studied, you know, even started getting into a counseling course, and thinking, God, I think I can do some of this for what I'm doing. You know, the guidelines are different, but I wanted to take it so I could have an understanding of body language, or reading between the lines with people and trying to pick up on, you know, what are they not saying, how to properly communicate to people. And that's as far as I went with it. That's all I needed to know, because it's not a role I wanted to take. If it's something I don't know, I'm like, you need to, I even go as far as saying I need a psychological or psychiatric assessment, depending on how in depth their experiences are. I see, and then I said 2 preferably, second opinion, if you can. I said, and I need a letter from that doctor saying that it is okay if I consult with you. Because essentially that at the end, that's what I'm doing. And I always get it. I've actually done shows, TV interviews and stuff with counselors or with, psychologists and such who are just like, they know there's a need for it. Some psychologists have even gone as far as studying parapsychology to include it within their own abilities to be able to communicate with people going through it. And I just said, okay, if I have permission, which I get, it's a matter of just don't let them go off the meds. But it tells you when the meds aren't working and they've tried different meds, that there's something just deeper, because there's a very fine line between things like attachment and psychosis, for example.
Yeah.
Like I've witnessed that on like so many times. So you really have to have due diligence. You can't just go in there and say, hearken or all. No, it is so far removed from it. You have to pluck through the entire, all the logical stuff. You have to work with all of the doctors. You have to ask all the hard questions, medications, everything. And then you have to see what's left and you have to put those puzzle pieces together. It's not as easy as people think with these type of situations. They could take, I've never had one that took under 3 months. And realistically, the longest one I ever did was 5 years.
Wow.
Because you're dealing with altering that mindset as well as removing anything that may be continuously coming in. There's a lot.
It's so interesting that we just talked about this over the weekend in one of our classes where we teach about how to do this work and the need to have that multidisciplinary understanding around what is happening for the person. And the mental health component of it is so vital, because even if you do go in and you help and you clear something, if that energy has been with the person for a long time, it's not just gone. It's not like, you think about trauma and PTSD, we carry things even long after we're out of the situation. And dealing with the paranormal and dealing with entities and all of it is no different.
No, you're right. And what do you do when you're so conditioned to having certain things happen in your home that you leave a foot in the door because you're still lurking around every corner? That door is still open a little bit because there's that anticipation. That in itself, like, don't kid yourself when you think they don't know. It's almost like you have this bullseye on your back that, you're going to be targeted for a little while if you don't change everything that's in here. You have to get that understanding. It starts with you and it can end with you. We can go in and I've cleared the same place multiple times for years. And I'm just like, I'm going to be dead one day. You need to learn that you are in control of this. And it's just like, okay, and then people will start doing it on their own. And they'll be just like, I don't know what held me back. I said, it's a safety net and I understand it. And if things really got ugly, you can let me know, but you have to try. You have to try, because they're going to be trying to take me out next,
Yeah.
Right. So now magnify that by, a couple of dozen people you're working with. That could get pretty intense if all that energy is directed to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The course that we're teaching, we started teaching it because we knew that a team is the way to do it for us. Like, that's just our preference, right?
Yeah.
Because it helps to have that backup for all of us. But it is true, like, we always talk about, you want to, teach someone to fish, not just get them a fish. It's the same kind of concept, right? Empower them to do their own work, to do their own healing, to do their own, that reframing, in order to make sure that they're not inviting.
That's the big one. You can do that in your sleep with that little nattering voice. It's just so many different variables, so I think it's great that you're taking the time and just educating people. I think people, especially if there's a healthy interest in it, you know, or you have folks who like to go to all these haunted places. Because I know I used to represent a few of these haunted places, you know, out my neck of the woods. And I used to educate people as we went along. Right. But there's some that don't. It's just like, here's a haunted place. Here's your tickets. Go on in, you know, or you want to do an investigation or go on even a ghost tour. It's just like harmless enough. I've had more people message me through the many years and say, I think I picked something up. So there's something about this person that is enticing to even something as innocent as one was a little child spirit. Well, a little child spirit attached herself to a woman. She must have been a lot like what mom was like, you know, in her life. And she wasn't leaving for anything. And it's, you know, it's tragic when it's a child spirit.
Yeah.
A lot of things out there can mimic child spirits very well also. But trying to convince a stubborn child in real life is a spirit child isn't going to be any different. Right? Because you can't reason with them sometimes. It's the same idea, you know? So I don't know. A lot of things to factor in.
Well, and it's so fascinating too when we think about how, you know, different energies travel together. I remember having somebody call me and they were saying, I'm dealing with this energy and I don't know what to do. And so, and this was very, very early on when I was not really working with this. Like I had always been familiar with it and they knew that, but it wasn't something that I was like doing. And I said, okay, well, let me see. And I tapped in and helped to clear it. And within probably 10 minutes of that, my eldest wakes up screaming, where's my child? Where's my child? Like, this was not my kid, right? This was something else coming through them. Yeah. And so new to it, I'm going, oh crap. Like I have to learn my own protections and to protect, you know, those around me and all of this. And, you know, this little child is now bringing in this other energy. And so we, you know, I had to work with that and get that cleared. But I think it is such an important thing for us to recognize when doing the work, how much work we need to be doing for ourselves and for those around us as well, because it's not, you know, just us in those situations.
I think we all learned that lesson the hard way. I most certainly did.
Yeah.
I most certainly did. And it's very humbling when you've had your rear end handed to you and you're sitting there thinking, it doesn't matter. It's not all about me. And that was exactly a turning point when it infiltrated a family member. And it was about a month in dealing with that. And it ended up being one of my kids. And she lost her sight completely. She was under every test imaginable, you know, and I was set to go back to this location. And I just tapped in. It was just like, stay away. And so that's the no-brainer for me. But unbeknownst to it is that the family did not want to continue on because everything had amped up so much. But they did not tell us, you know, out of the space we were in, that there was a whole other space that was shut down for the winter that we couldn't even see because it was all underneath some trees. We didn't even know it existed. So it was like, okay, well, that's not a problem. And literally by the next day, she said I could see.
Wow.
It took my family doctor saying, have you worked on anything? Because nothing logical and medical is making any sense. Everything should be as it should be. Psychologist, you know, I mean, we had her everywhere. And I thought about it and I went, oh, yeah. And I realized not untouchable. And, you know, I've been followed home a lot. You just did not expect it to jump.
Yeah.
Right. So that was that. And never made that mistake twice, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You were talking about the haunted walk and stuff. We have the haunted jail downtown. And I remember
I've stayed there.
there was,
Yeah.
I early in my journey, right? I had just started seeing things again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need to go there. Like, I really felt like I needed to go there on Halloween.
That must have been good. Even I didn't do that.
Yeah. Needless to say, being a sensitive and stuff, I saw lots of stuff, felt lots of stuff. I didn't bring it home, thankfully. I did see it from inside, like standing outside. I could see it in the window at the end of the tour and stuff. But that was quite an experience.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I've stayed there twice, and both times I remember, to give people a bit of an idea of how haunted the place is. The first time I went, we were up near death row, and I said to the woman she kept going into the cell, and I said, don't go in there. I said, you're not going to be alone. There's something a bit aggressive there. What do you know? I said, absolutely freaking nothing. So anyway, the door slammed on her, and they couldn't get her out. It was an hour before they could get that thing to open. And the second time I went back, which was probably a few years later, had been completely removed. So the door could never do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, we had an experience where the door was opening. It was right beside my son, and I was like, and I was at the other end of the door, and I'm going, older. He was like, older teenager sort of thing. It's not like, but still, it's your son, and you're
that's it. Like, get out of there. Yes, yes.
And I could see this thing in my peripheral vision in this cell next to me, and I'm like looking this way, going, I can't see you. I can't see you. Of course,
it's just like,
you're like, oh
yeah. I know. Sometimes acknowledgement is empowerment. I stick to that. I do.
The funny part was that it was Halloween, so they were trying to scare people. Oh. So a human slammed a door beside me, and of course, it startled me. Yes. But I was like, really? That was a human.
I know. That's not even right. They did that when I was on a tour in Scotland, because they believed that when you are fearful, it releases certain endorphins that can attract other spirits. Mm-hmm. And they tried. We were in the Mackenzie Poltergeist vault, and they tried to frighten me. And I'm with my son at the time, who was also like a young adult, and I just sat there. And my son's laughing, and he looks at the guy and he goes, you can try as many times. She does her own tours. Like, this is nothing. And we didn't do stuff like that. So then he pulled me aside afterwards. He goes, well, this is why we do it. And I said, well, do it with somebody else, because I said, you're going to fail miserably and embarrass yourself if you keep doing it around me. So we got a good laugh out of it. And years later, the manager from that tour came on our show to talk about all of this stuff, and it was a practice that they've stopped doing.
Yeah.
So
I called the guide on it too.
Good for you, right? Yeah, I gotta give somebody a stroke.
I was a human.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they kind of smirked, and I'm like, mm-hmm.
That's right. I can feel you coming. So.
The rope feeling around my neck was not human.
No.
And the breath in my ear was not human, but the door slamming. Definitely.
But at least you knew, right? At least
yeah.
You knew at that point, but it's fun. The tours can be fun.
It was an interesting experience. Obviously it was a learning experience for me, because I had that real urge to go.
Yes.
But,
and people should be leery about certain locations and bringing things back from certain locations. Some people could do it without any problems. I've never had problems with things like that, but I've had people that I've been with, and I've been contacted by many other people who have taken things. And like I had, when I went to Romania, I had a lot of people that said to me, can you bring me back something from the haunted forest? And it's like, all right, why not? Let's see if I can get it in the country, because they're real funky, right? In the country, about bringing back soil and things like that. And I brought back all kinds of things, pass them around to your friends, and it seemed okay. And I had teammates who did the same thing, and really crazy things started happening. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean that whole place was an experience. it lives up to its reputation. It's a whole other show because it would take at least an hour to get through it. But we had 2 or 3 different television shows based just on that one excursion, that one location. That's how much happened there. Before, during, after in the hotel, and after when we came back to America.
Wow.
Yeah.
And have the seekers talking about what's excreted. It's proven that we excrete hormones and VOCs.
Yeah.
When we're under stress. Dogs smell
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a lot to factor in with all this. At the end of the day, I truly feel when your mindset is right, when your vibe is right, and you have a good frequency going, not going to touch you. You starve them. They can't attach. They just can't. There's nothing there for them.
Yeah.
But, talk about the Schumann resonance. A friend of mine has this Schumann machine, and she puts it on every night before she goes to bed. And recently, because she goes, I've never slept this good. And, it's just incredible. I'm dreaming crazy dreams. And then something, paranormal happened. And she goes, is it because of this? I says, I don't know. You could probably be projecting like nobody's business as if you're in the right frequency, but anything is possible. So I thought that was worth a mention. I figure I gotta get one of those. Let's play with it and see what happens.
Well, we're always traveling. We talked about that. We're always going all over the place. So it's
Mm-hmm.
Definitely important to pay attention to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I believe that for sure. It's just like, why would you be like, it's like, I'm sure, Jennifer said when you've been on the show, be like sleeping in a car while you're in the garage at night. You're not going to just sit there. You're going to go to sleep. You're just going to travel. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Absolutely
like job or school.
Well, that is what Earth is, right? It's spirit school. So we're here to learn.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We just need to learn how to read the fine print.
I should have learned that before.
Yes, that's right. Wayne says that all the time. I should have read the fine print. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Somehow, the other before coming here, we were like, "Yeah, I can handle that." We get here, we're like, "Oh, I don't know about that."
Yeah.
Somebody thought this was a good idea.
Yeah. Then you realize maybe not. He said I was duped. Yeah.
Yes.
That could be a thing. Yeah. I know. You come in all high and mighty, then you just get slapped around a little bit and it's like, gosh, what happened? Did anybody get the plate from that truck?
Yes.
I saw a question go by at one point about our tags, and I tried to put them in, realizing it didn't go to Michelle. So my apologies. But for the YouTube, it's like right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah, they're below.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm doing it right now.
I did put it in the private chat if you just want to copy and paste.
That's
But
it's all right. That's okay. There it is.
I realized that I think things are just going to go and then they don't go. And I think that's kind of the story of some of what we've been talking about today.
Yes. And are we still in Mercury retrograde?
Please, no. No more. No more.
I don't know, but Saturn's about to retrograde, so tell me what that's all about.
Well, hey, clock is 555.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
Something a little bit positive there.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't believe that it's 555 to be 555. That has flown by that hour. That's amazing. And Jen, we usually do our home play. We used to call it homework. Well, we thought we might call it homework, and then we decided no, we're going to call it home play because it's much more fun. So, Jen, would you like to read out our home play?
We do our home play from Seeds from the Sacred Feminine. And the card that came out today is Quest for a New Vision, which how beautiful in terms of all of the energies that we are in right now, being able to hold that space for something new. So I'll just read that to us really quick. So it says, you have forgotten that the sacred feminine wisdom of your ancestors lives within you. It is time to unravel the training that keeps you from connecting with that wisdom. Make time, grandchild. Disrupt your daily routine. Your steps are faltering because you are deaf to the whispers of your spirit. To hear your spirit, you must get quiet. Spend time alone, seeking the inner world of the sacred feminine. It is time for a vision quest. A traditional vision quest is a 2 to 4 day fast on the land with nothing but you and the natural elements, no distractions, no weapons, and no shelter. A vision quest brings you into contact with the natural world and teaches you what you need to know. Remember this ancient wisdom. You're being called to the land to quest a new vision for your life. Any amount of time in nature will help you. You must dream a new dream before the dream can become real. Listen, dream, for much beauty lies on the horizon.
That's beautiful.
Perfect.
Kind of resonates with what we talked about a little bit, which is keeping all of that energy up there and focused.
It's perfect for me because at the end of the week I start vacation. So time for a little
That's
break.
nice.
No vision quest.
You get a
Not sure
vacation?
about that thing, but time to be instead of do.
What's that like, a vacation?
Yeah.
Exactly.
With the energy and all of that, though, this whole idea of the week being about what is it that I want to let go of? What do I want to bring into my experience? And as much as we were talking about it specifically in terms of energies, it really does apply on the broader spectrum of what is it that I want to bring into my experience and allow ourselves to quest for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely.
Food for thought. It's a good place to leave it.
Absolutely.
So do you have anything coming up that you'd like to share, Michelle?
Well, I've got 3 shows coming up this week, of course. On Beyond the Outer Realm, we have Alexander. I can never pronounce that poor guy's name. Let me just grab that for one quick minute, if you can bear with me. Okay. Alexander Cheshkowitz. I had to see it to sound it out. That's Tuesday at 2. We're going to be talking about ancient matrix philosophies. Wednesday night, of course, I got Giulio Consiglio coming on talking about current UFO disclosure. Thursday, Daniela Semina returns, and we're talking about her book, basically, which is Where Fairies Meet, Understanding the Parallels of Irish and Romanian Fairies. So, something for everybody. There you go.
Absolutely.
Right? Yep.
And Jen, what have you got going on this week?
I should have looked that up while you were asking. I don't think anything else is coming up this week.
I know we have a quieter week.
I just did a recording with Therapists in Conversation. That'll come out at the beginning of next month on kinesiology. And and then that's kind of it for now until next Twillow Talk. I just was on with the United Experiencers Initiative and their launch, and that was a great show. Really awesome lineup. So if you guys haven't caught that, you can take a look at that. I actually will share it on my YouTube. I think I did, but if I didn't, I'll go back and make sure that I do. And
And we have a great guest coming in next week, Jay Jackson. He's a crystal specialist. So if crystals are your thing, isn't it next week?
We have Luella next week, and then Jay on the
Luella next week. Luella. Jay's the following week.
Everybody's great. Michelle, you have been incredible. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you. It was a pleasure hanging with you both. It was a great conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
So
thank you, everybody who joined us. Wonderful conversation. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing all of your energy, and we'll see you again next time. Bye now.